Welcome. Your ship will arrive momentarily. In the meantime, we ask that you secure any delicate cargo, such as children or immature individuals, in the loading bay. Loose items like fragile egos, endless mental chatter, political fantasy, and religious dogma are prohibited. As we prepare for departure, please be advised that the challenges this mission holds offer particularly significant risks to the mind, heart, and will of the explorer, and the odds of survival as you know them are extremely low. Your bravery in the face of this great adversity inspires us all.
I'm trying to save you and your family's life. I'm giving you a choice. Either put on these glasses or start eating that trash can.
We are not in Kansas anymore, Toto. Are you ready to free your mind from those silly-ass chains? Well, buckle up, friends, because you are watching the baddest show in the Milky Way. Take aim or take cover while we annihilate ignorance, deception, and slavery in all its forms. Welcome to the Holy Warship Podcast.
You're not getting away from the long arm of natural law.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 7 of the Holy Warship Podcast. I am your host, Aaron Butler, and we have a very special presentation today. It is titled Ending Slavery for Dummies. We're going to break down what slavery is, where slavery comes from, are you a slave? We're going to answer all these really crucial questions, and we're going to find out, how does one actually unslave themselves? Maybe my mic was a little hot there. So yes, this is Slavery for Dummies. I'm glad to be back from a little break, and glad to be streaming and giving this presentation to you guys. So, as I always like to say, thank you to the One Great Work Network for hosting me. Just a awesome collection of individuals there who are awake to what slavery is. They know how to end slavery, and they're working towards it. And so the One Great Work Network, you can check out, all of these amazing content creators over there, and you just cannot go wrong by going to the One Great Work Network and checking these guys out. Let's see here. So there we go. The One Great Work Network is an amazing group of people. So let's get back to the presentation. Please check out my presentation, Everything You Should Already Know. I know it sounds like a lot, but it literally is to whet your appetite and get people understanding all the information that they're missing out on, that we haven't been educated with. And so this education is crucial. We cover everything from the Big Bang all the way up to modern times, and we educate you on the condition that humanity exists in. So a warning that I like to give for all of my podcasts is that this is for mature audiences only. This is for grown-ups who can listen to information and people who can absorb information without immediately rejecting it or getting triggered so much that they can't listen or learn. This podcast is for stable audiences only. I want this to be for people who have a decent understanding of, how they can keep their mental health And this might be a caveat to this might be a one of this podcast might be a solution to many of the mental health issues that we have. So we talk a lot about solutions on this show. So I am not perfect. Don't expect perfection from me. I'm here as an imperfect person, and I have collected a lot of information. But that doesn't mean that I know everything, or it doesn't mean that I'm telling you information from a standpoint of authority. It just means that I'm just teaching from one human to another, and I recognize the value of helping and sharing information. I believe that humanity is late, so my pertinence and my aggressive ability to impress this information on you is just coming from a place of passion and love and understanding that humanity is actually late to a very important date, which is our awakening to what's going on in this world. I always give the disclaimer is that I don't want to be believed. I want everyone to go verify this, and I understand that people can verify this. I don't ever necessarily talk about anything that really requires belief. It just really requires open eyes, open ears, and that's pretty much it. So you can verify this information. If your eyes are open, you're already verifying this stuff anyways. You make your own choices. Everyone out there, you make your own choices. You can take information from this podcast. You can listen to the wisdom that I understand and that I practice, but it's up to you to take that and apply it in your own life, and I'm not responsible for whatever you do. I stand against violence in all of its forms, not just physical violence. I stand against violence of natural rights of individuals, which we will get into today. I'm very excited for this podcast and this episode. Another disclaimer is that truth is not terrorism. I want everyone to remember this, and I'm letting you know that me speaking out and me sharing the truth does not make me a terrorist. It doesn't make anyone a terrorist if you're sharing the truth and you know the truth, because we're going to get into it today, and the truth is seen as terrorism to the enslavers of this world. If you are a slaver, if you're a master, if you're a wannabe king, if you want to dominate over other people, to you, the truth is terrorism. But to everyone else, the truth is freedom. Truth is the only thing that will set humanity free. And the truth is not terrorism. If you are here sharing truth on this planet and you know the truth, you are not a bad person. You are the opposite of a bad person. I am the opposite of a terrorist. Okay? Truth is not terrorism. And I want everyone to know that, and everyone should understand that. Because I am not out here talking about disinformation. I am not out here talking about, joining some cult. I'm here sharing the truth. Number one, truth. Principle, truth. That's it. The truth is not terrorism. All right, everyone. What is slavery? So let's answer this question. So what is slavery? It's the belief in the legitimacy of one being's ability to possess rightful ownership and authority over another being. Simple, period explanation of what slavery is. It doesn't get much more simple than that. This is what slavery is. So a human being can never think, understand, or act for another human being, therefore making ownership and authority over other humans impossible and not legitimate. Authority is a term that means one who brings laws into being. God, essentially. Authority is the claim that you are God and you get to author people's lives. That is what authority is. And that is why slavery is wrong. This is before we even make a moral claim. This is a scientific claim saying that nobody can act for me. Nobody can act for you. You act for yourself. Some people think for themselves, they should be, but no one can act for you. No one can understand for you. No one can think for you. That is up to you. It's a scientific fact that slavery is wrong, meaning incorrect. That's not a moral claim. That is a scientific, factual claim. We will get more into moral claims here shortly. So the belief in human authority assumes that some people can create laws for other people and that some people have the right to enforce these laws while others are obligated to obey. The idea of legitimate human authority is a contradiction to how reality operates and a violation of natural law rights. So living beings are free and sovereign. It means that they own yourself. All living beings can only own themselves and the fruits of their own labor. Any claim of the ownership by one party or being over the body and private property of a separate party or being is based on a false belief system, contradictory to reality, in violation of natural laws, and therefore not legitimate. The claim of ownership is not legitimate. This is a quote by Angelina Grimke. If I'm saying that properly, she's an abolitionist. Man cannot rightfully hold his fellow man as property. The claim to him as property is an annihilation of his rights to himself. So, a natural right is the innate freedom to act in any way so long as it does not initiate the violation of the rights of another individual, theft or harm. Simply put, rights end where theft begins. If you're harming someone, you're taking some of their, if you're infringing on their right to act freely and not harm other people, then you are in the wrong. So every human has the inherent right to voluntary interaction, as long as they do not perform these violations or violent behaviors. These are all violations of natural law. Nobody has the right to perform these actions: murder, rape, trespass, willful deception, assault, theft, and coercion. Since these behaviors are not rights, no being can ever be justified in performing these actions under any circumstances. None of these behaviors are in self-defense. But in the system of slavery, slavery means that all of these are justified. Slavery is the justification for any and all of these means necessary. We will get into that further. So we've identified what slavery is. It's very simple. We simplified that into just a few minutes. It all comes down to simple principles and simple facts. Let's get into where slavery comes from. Let's have a popular quote from Kanye West. When you hear about slavery for 400 years, that sounds like a choice. You were there for 400 years, and it's all of y'all. It's like we're mentally imprisoned. He goes on to clarify this. Of course, I know that slaves did not get shackled and put on a boat by free will. My point is for us to have stayed in that position, even though the numbers were on our side, means that we were mentally enslaved. So the source of slavery is the mind. if that wasn't very obvious in those quotes. Now, the visible forms of slavery, like all the justified assault and rape and theft and murder, these are just the outward expressions and manifestations reflecting the inner imprisonment of the human mind. These bombings we're seeing in Iran, all this terrorism we're seeing by the governments of the world, this is a reflection of the collective consciousness of humankind. We don't get to blame everyone. We don't get to blame anyone except ourselves, because every human, by not fighting and speaking out and discussing the topic of slavery, we're all responsible for those bombs, the bombs that get dropped. We're all responsible for the police state, the prison world, prison planet that we're going to be inheriting, and that our children will be inheriting from us, because for generations, humanity has been a slave in the mind. Slavery begins as a delusion within a diseased psyche. The false belief that some are rulers and others are subjects, morally obligated to be ruled. This illusion rests upon the idea that any human being is truly separate from another and possesses more or less rights than another. This illusion that human beings are separate is the precise reason that humanity is enslaved, is because most of the consciousness of human beings believe that we are separate. Therefore, you have separate rights than I have, and I have separate rights than you have, which is incorrect. It's not aligned with reality. It's a contradiction to reality and a contradiction to the moral and scientific laws that operate in the universe. So, the person that believes that human beings are separate and that some are rulers and some are masters, they have a dialectic in front of them. And it's like this for a reason. You either identify with the master or you identify with the slave. And so this is the two dialectic that humanity is choosing. And you can tell many people who choose one of these two paths, which are both incorrect, they are a master. If you choose to be a master, you're still a slave. If you choose to be a slave, you're obviously a slave. But the truth is that the master, who believes he's a master over other people's and chooses to identify with being the master, he will roll over and become a slave to someone who can show more dominance over him. So he's still a slave. He believes in the ideology of slavery and the dialectic that people can have more rights. Therefore, if he believes he has more rights than someone, then he's accepting the idea that someone can have more rights than him. He is a slave. The master and the slave is a cycle. So let's get into the slave-master cycle. The more individuals who believe that human beings are separate, and they believe that some people have more rights than others, the more enslaved these people will be. The more enslaved humanity will be. This is how slavery is perpetuated. And then, the more enslaved people become, the more their mental health deteriorates, the more unintelligent they become, the more stupid and retarded and held back people become physically and mentally. And then the third part of the cycle is that the more mentally and morally degraded that people are, the more people will just believe that some people have more rights than others. So it's a perpetual cycle. The more enslaved we become, the stupider we get morally, and the more unhealthy we get physically. And the more stupid and retarded and unhealthy we get, the more people believe in the legitimacy of slavery. So we're talking about slavery originating in the mind. So this has to do with mind control. So mind control manipulates the thoughts, perceptions, and beliefs of the individual, hijacking their own autonomy and leading them to accept human authority as legitimate and necessary. So slavery starts with a belief that humans can own each other and boss each other around. It's a thought, and this thought is put into our heads by the slaver. And the violence and coercion that we see, those are tools. Those are tools to degrade the mind, to degrade the human being, to degrade our thoughts, to degrade our beliefs, to actually, the end goal is to believe that you are a slave. That is the goal of the slaver, is to mind control the slave and get them to accept and submit mentally. Mind control is the first cause of slavery. So the trauma and stress from a lifelong period of violence and duress, it brings the consciousness of the slave into a fear-based pattern, a holding pattern that can be triggered. So the idea of keeping a slave is keeping them anchored and tethered to the thought and the idea that they are a slave, whether they acknowledge this overtly or they just ignore it. Mankind becomes enslaved when it's ignorant to, afraid of, and uncaring of the occult or hidden mind control imposed by its enslaver. A great quote by Frederick Douglass is, "To enslave men successfully and safely, it is necessary to have their minds occupied with thoughts and aspirations short of the liberty of which they are deprived." Beautifully said by a gentleman who was a slave. Let's get into part 3. Are you a slave? So a slave is one who believes or fails to question entirely the idea that others have a legitimate and rightful claim of ownership or authority over their life, body, or the fruits of their labor. So you don't need no slave, because if we're asking the question to ourselves, we have to actually ask, am I a slave? Do I believe that other people get to own each other? And I might say, no, I'm not a slave. And you can be entirely lying to yourself. So a slave is one who believes, whether consciously or subconsciously. We can't lie to ourselves at a deep enough level. There's no lying to yourself. Your soul knows what you are. There's a silent observer inside yourself that knows these things. So a slave is one who believes or fails to question entirely. They will dismiss it. A slave will dismiss the fact they're a slave. A slave is any being who, through coercion or conditioned belief, has ignored their inherent right and responsibility to self-ownership, thereby allowing their thoughts, body, or labor to be claimed by another in violation of natural law rights. So a slave gives up their autonomy. They give up their responsibility. The slave puts other people in charge of their own thoughts, beliefs, and decisions. And they're doing this in a active violation of the truth, active violation of the law of nature and the natural law rights. So look around. Are you a slave? Are there people around you who have more rights than others? Are there actions that if you took would be punishable but if someone else took would be justifiable or even encouraged? Do you have a government? So government is an institution designed to serve as a proxy for God. Remember, authority means that that who brings laws into being, who writes the laws, which is God. True laws are inherent, man-made, true laws are inherent, not man-made, and they are immutable. Law means constant, not changing. Immutable, can't be muted. So government is here as a proxy for God and to control the minds and therefore behavior of humans. Government is the oldest and original justified tool of enslavement for thousands of years. And when you get into it, the word government means mind control. Mind control. Government means mind control. To govern the mind. Government. To steer the mind. Meant. Government. It means mind control. You can never forget this. Let's look at signs. What are the signs of slavery? So the master class called government abuses psychological archetypes, occult symbolism, NLP, which is neuro-linguistic programming, legalese, doublespeak, implied threats, and whatever means necessary to subconsciously program its slaves into submitting to its rule. All of the symbols that we see our government do, all of the parades, all of the flashy wardrobe, all of the monuments and the icons, all of these things are to subconsciously program the archetypes of authority into the minds of the slave. The slavers use religious rituals and ceremonies to impersonate divinity and hijack your subconscious desire for true law and true justice. So they impersonate divinity and give their rule an ostensibly moral and divine facade. It's ritual. All of these things that government does are rituals for the slave to believe he's making his choice freely. And for the most part, he is, with just a little bit of mental influence. Slaves do not have the right to travel, build, trade, barter, or earn freely, and even daily moral righteous behavior requires permits, licenses, degrees, and permission from God, authority. The authority called government. So the laws slash the master's laws, which are commands, they vary from time and place, one time and place to the next, ensuring the slaves are psychologically fragmented and constantly paranoid of being extorted of money, which is freedom. Money equals freedom. The slave's mind has been conditioned to believe that money is freedom. Crucial. So the laws all change wherever you go. This is to keep you on unsteady ground, to keep you paranoid, to keep you frantic, to keep you in the fight or flight holding pattern like we talked about. So you're going to be paranoid. Or the slave would be paranoid. I guess we haven't finished the final answer to the question if you are a slave or not. So you're constantly afraid of losing your freedom tokens, of being caged, being beaten, or murdered. So are you a slave? Does there exist a government or a class of people who use the excuse of authority to justify the granting or theft of rights? Does this class of people believe that it is morally responsible for you to do as they command, regardless of morality? Does this class of people have rights to perform actions that you do not have the right to perform? So sadly, if your natural rights are treated as privileges that can be granted or taken away by a government or a mob, you are a slave. If your rights can be taken away by other people, you're a slave. If you believe that you can take other people's rights away, you're a slave. So, the fact is, if you have a government over you and other people around you who believe that this is a morally legitimate institution, which it cannot be, not even in reality, I'm not just making moral claims, I'm making an actual, real, scientific claim that no one owns you because they cannot make decisions for you. They cannot understand your life for you. They cannot think for you. They try to, and they're doing a pretty good job for 99.99% of the population that believes that slavery is legitimate, because if you have a government and you believe that government is legitimate, you're a slave and you believe in slavery. So let's start to get to a little bit of silver lining. Is that now that you're here and waking up to this, you have the opportunity to free yourself. This is your notice. This is your notice of liability to the fact that humanity is enslaved, that you're a slave. And there's good news. So, the good news is that you're here. The other good news is that humanity has done this to themselves. And it's all in our head. Slavery begins with the mind, and slavery ends with the mind. So the moment that we recognize that freedom means owning yourself is the moment we can say no to slavery. The second you decide, I own myself, you own yourself, that's when everyone starts saying no. We're all running around looking up to these fake idols and gods that we call presidents, that we call prime ministers. They're all just people who don't understand. They have a misguided, and either they don't understand or they just don't care. We'll get into that. So let's get into part 5, which is how to unslave yourself. Know your rights. That should be an obvious one. But the reason we're enslaved, the reason why nobody is unslaving themselves, is because they don't know their rights. And I'm hoping that this video you will share to other people and you will help them understand what their rights are and understand what slavery is and how to end it. So study natural law and understand right versus wrong behavior and start to live righteously and raise awareness of this information to others. You don't have to be perfect to share this information. You do not have to be perfect. You don't have to have a total insane master understanding of this, but you should know your rights, bare minimum, and go to help other people understand this. A quote by Samuel Adams: "The natural liberty of man is to be free from any superior power on earth, and not to be under the will or legislative authority of man, but only to have the law of nature for his rule." These laws that are inherent to humanity the right to not be harmed, to not be stolen from, unless you're violating someone else's rights. So know yourself. Acknowledge your mistake of allowing your mind to be controlled by others. This is one thing that people are loath to do. They want to outsource all their thinking and just believe things. Humanity needs to acknowledge its mistake and take responsibility for how it has ignored and contributed to this enslavement. We all need to look in the mirror and apologize. Apologize for letting yourself down and letting the world around you down. So heed these words, you who wish to probe the depths of nature. If you do not find within yourself that which you seek, neither will you find it outside. We're all seeking, everyone in this world is seeking outside of themselves. They're seeking to go find the solutions on YouTube. They're seeking to go find the solutions, with all the authority figures and all of the people who they believe are authorities, like the gatekeepers in the social media land and the gatekeepers of YouTube, the gatekeepers of the freedom movement. They're waiting on those people to tell them who they are. If you ignore the wonders of your own house, how do you expect to find other wonders? You're ignoring yourself. You're ignoring your own rights. You're ignoring your mistakes. You're ignoring your flaws. In you is hidden the treasure of treasures. Know thyself, and you will know the universe and the gods. You must understand yourself. Knowing yourself knowing yourself means knowing where your rights are and where your wrongs are. You have to know what your wrongs are. You have to know your wrongs. Know your rights. Know your wrongs. Look at yourself. I have had to look at myself and say, wow, I have been acting like a slave. I have been a slave my entire life. I had to wake up one day and say, wow, I'm a slave. And then I had to put in the work to make the change and change my thoughts and change my perceptions and change my beliefs and stop believing so much. A big problem is that we just believe things. We believe things about ourselves. We believe things about our rights. We believe everything. We don't know anything. So disavow the beliefs which legitimize human authority and perpetuate slavery. So be willing to so it's not just disavowing. It's not just disavowing, and this is where the frustration comes in, is because when you recognize that you're a slave and you start to change it, what it means is that you have things to defend. You have responsibility to defend it and die on it. Be willing to sacrifice time, effort, and even your life to defend your natural rights. This is something that nobody likes. It sucks. It sucks to have to understand that everyone around you might not understand why you're defending yourself, and everyone just would think it would be crazy. I had people in my life personally, this is a personal anecdote, is that I had someone in my life look at me when we were discussing the tyranny of the Fauci ouchies and all of the liquid DNA altering substances that people were rolling up their sleeves for. And someone looked at me when I was discussing, if we were discussing the topic of them knocking on door to door, which eventually they're going to start doing. In my state alone, Washington, I'm pretty sure they passed laws, them being God, that they have the right to medically treat you against your will. That's a slave. You're a slave. And someone looked at me and they said, what are you going to do? Fight them? You're going to fight the police and the doctors? And I was so baffled that someone had said this to me. What else? There is nothing more worth dying for than the right to exist unharmed. There is nothing more worth dying for. But you end up on the news because you get in that battle and you lose your life or whatever happens. And every slave around says, oh, well, he should have just obeyed. He should have just listened. That is slave think. That is the problem. No one's willing to sacrifice. No one's willing to put in the fucking effort. And it's real. You know what? The nice part about it, though, we'll get to this. We'll get to it. Let's look at this. Resolve to serve no more, and you are at once freed. I do not ask that you place hands upon the tyrant to topple him, only that you support him no longer, and then you will behold him like a great colossus whose pedestal has been pulled away, fall of his own weight and break in pieces. This doesn't mean just say no. It means withhold your actions that support. Stop voting. Stop being silent. Educate people. Say no. Say no with your teeth. Say no with your rights. Say no with your life. Be willing to give up your life. If you die defending your rights, even if you die, even if you're tortured, even if you're murdered, if you die in this action, you are right. You are correct. You are correct to die defending the truth, to die defending the principles. You died doesn't mean you lost. Doesn't mean you were wrong. This is a big one. This should have been the number 2 one that we talked about. We got to study and apply occulted knowledge. So the occult is simply the knowledge of how the mind and universe operates. This is your rights, and this is yourself. Know the macrocosm and the microcosm. The occult is hidden and obfuscated because it would level the playing field, giving the slave the same knowledge as the master. Study and apply occulted knowledge. Everything worth knowing is occulted knowledge. Occult just means the master does not want you to know it. That's it. Or the slave would have been killed if he shared it. So this is why the Dead Sea Scrolls were hidden in a cave. And it's why no Christian really actually goes deep onto the understanding of what the Dead Sea Scrolls are and what, or even devotes any of their time to try to understand it or learn it from people who read those languages, is because they're a slave and they've been tricked into just believing their pastor, just believing their religion, because they don't actually study and apply occult knowledge. Let's get into a quote. Since all the great laws of nature are in fact working in the invisible world far more than the visible, occultism involves the acceptance of a much wider view of nature than that which is ordinarily taken. The occultist, then, is a man who studies all the laws of nature that he can reach or of which he can hear. And as a result of his study, he identifies himself with these laws and devotes his life to the service of evolution. This is what a true occultist does, or de-occultist, someone who shares this information. But truly, this is the illumined belief. This is righteous belief, is to aid be in the service of evolution. Everyone who disagrees with me, debate me. You're wrong. You know nothing about the occult. The only reason you deny the occult is because it's so intellectually vast and so creatively vast that it's over your head. It's because there's moral implications to the occult, there's intellectual implications to the occult, and the reason your priest doesn't like it is because it's too big for him. This information is too big. It's just too big. It goes over the heads of everyone. But this is why we're screwed, is because the slavers of this world, the masters who write your books and write your laws, they're occultists, and they have information right in front of you. It's all around you. The occult is all around you. Your eyes just aren't open because you've been a slave. The occult is everything. Once you understand what the occult is, it's all you can see. It's all you see. You live in that world now. The veil is lifted. It's gone. You just live in the real world. You put on the glasses. You live in the real world. That's what deep study of occultism does, is you wake up in the real world. You don't stay in dreamland. You don't stay in religiosity land. You don't stay in anything. You're everywhere all at once. You collectively have absorbed an eclectic array of information. You've integrated your life's experiences. That's what gnosis is. That's the secret of the Gnostics, which it's not, Gnostic isn't one thing. It's just the identification of integrating your past experiences and integrating your life with reality, the world around you, and seeing the transparency in both of these things. Everyone should know what the occult is. Everyone should devote time to it. This is the true way to unslave yourself. And this is what will wake humanity up. Or you can just be a slave and believe what everyone else says. So humanity has to understand how to manifest freedom. We manifest freedom when we choose the right thoughts, principles, and beliefs to feel and act upon. Freedom is the result of right belief, not orthodox, not religion. I'm talking right belief, right, correct, moral belief, evolution, beliefs that aid evolution, beliefs that aid creation. Freedom is the result. If we were choosing the right belief, if Orthodox religion was the truth and it was the true right belief and then guess what? Humanity would be free because they chose the right beliefs to feel and act upon. But we haven't done that. So there's no right, nobody out there in the aggregate, the majority actually has the right beliefs. We've all accepted slavery into our lives because we've been inculcated into it our entire lives. And the only manifestation that truly matters is freedom. We have to recognize that. Everyone and all these manifestors out there, all you fake ass manifestors, don't know shit about freedom. They have identified money with freedom. And that's why everyone wants to manifest money, is because they think that means freedom. In reality, it's just a token. It's just in place of freedom. It's not the true freedom. I feel so lucky in my life that I learned the difference between freedom and money. Because I have freedom now. I'm still working on getting more money, but I have true freedom and true liberation to be what I am and to be who I am. And no one else, barely anyone around me has that. And everyone who has educated me about slavery and what slavery is and what mind control is, I'm grateful to those people because they raised me up. I grew up in total slavery. And nobody, until you free yourself, until you weep at the joy of freedom that you get when you free yourself, you don't know what it's like to be free. You think your money is freedom. You think your cars are freedom. It's a fucking joke. It's pathetic. It's fucking pathetic. It's actually fucking pathetic. I would like this video to actually be spread everywhere. I might have to re-record it in a nice voice, because when I give this presentation, my heart starts pounding and I feel every square inch of my skin get hot, and it's hard to, I want this to be able to just be sent everywhere. I'm going to have to re-record it all. If you don't want to share this in Aaron's voice and you don't like the way that I come off, I'm going to record this in a nice, pretty voice so you can send it to your fucking family, so you don't have to offend them with the education that they need. Peace can only come as a natural consequence of universal enlightenment. People couldn't define universal enlightenment. They don't even know how to define those two words together. Universal enlightenment is mankind knowing itself, mankind knowing where it's been, knowing its rights. That's enlightenment, is when humanity knows its rights. So we have to live a principled life. These symbols are just symbols. I'm not saying go join some cult or some lodge or whatever this is. These are just symbols as in their utmost upright symbolism, definition, meaning, intention. So live a principled life. Each person is born inherently free with self-ownership. Initiating harm against another's body, rights, or property is inherently wrong and immoral. 3, defensive force in the protection of natural rights is right, true, and moral. That is a principled life. Everyone talks about principles. I hear this word so much lately. This is living a principled life. It's not being a trad conservative and believing your fucking preacher. This is truly living a moral life. So know that the truth is worth dying for. I already skipped ahead and got to that. All the great men that I could ever look up to, they devoted their life towards teaching other people the truth, and it made their life a living hell. Everyone claims to be a Christian, but what was he done? What happened to Christ? He was crucified for sharing the truth and teaching the truth with others, and we have no one doing that anymore. I'm going to keep moving forward. You know what? I don't even know. I don't know. It's like I want to just make this presentation so nice and easy for people, but there's a passion that comes with waking up. There's a passion that comes deep down within the human soul when it discusses freedom, and it's worth dying for. And people don't understand that. You see that there's a video of Jordan Peterson. There's a video of Jordan Peterson debating these people, and this one, totally superbly intelligent college kid, because they're all so intelligent because they're in college, and they were telling Jordan Peterson, "Oh, you know, if someone had a gun to your head, or if you would lie to save your family, or you would lie to do this," and they're like so sure that people should just lie and would lie to save their life. It's like, to be honest, if I held a pencil and someone held a gun to my head and said, "Tell me this is a flashlight," I mean, first off, they've forgone their rights to have the truthful information. So in a sense, it's a type of self-defense. You don't get, you can, it's like if a cop asks you questions, everyone knows you don't tell the cops the truth. Everyone knows that. You just either shut your mouth or they're attacking your freedom. And their existence and their deliberate intention is to steal your rights. So that's why people lie to cops, because who the fuck cares if you lied to a liar? Who the fuck cares if you lied to a liar and a thief and a kidnapper? If it weren't for police, politicians and presidents would just be people with bad beliefs. But we have police and military. So that means that all these retarded beliefs and slave beliefs that other people have get to be imposed on everyone else. But it's like, people just want to lie. People just want to lie every day. I'm not a slave. I'm not a slave. I got money. I'm not a slave. I'm not a slave. I get to go and drive my car to San Francisco. I get to go and go on a road trip. And they think they're more free. They think they're not a slave. Eliphas Levi. There is nothing more to controlling demons than to do good and fear nothing. Great quote. And this is the epitome of living a principled life. Because the forces of evil have got nothing on us when we're doing good, righteous work. And that's the protection that you need. That's the protection that we really need. We're all these Christians talking about controlling demons. They don't even know. They don't know anything about demons. They don't know anything about demons. They just have a religious belief that's been passed down for the past, how many years? 1,600 years by the Christian church, telling people what demons are. They keep all the good shit to themselves. They're all Satanists at the highest levels. So we have to take responsibility for our children. A child is the natural effect of a union between two parents. Therefore, the natural responsibility for nurturing, educating, and shaping that child rests with those who cause their existence. What do you see in the slave, the older style of slave systems before they hid it and could keep it secret easier, was the slaves didn't have rights to their children. Do you think we have? Some people like me, I claim the rights to my child and my children. I know it's my responsibility to educate my children and educate them in a way that frees them and sets them free. That's my responsibility. And if I'm not perfect, I don't know everything, I have to read and learn or help point my children in the right direction. But what do all the slaves do now is they send their child to the state. They send their slave that they've given the rights up to the slave master. And that's who owns everyone's children these days is the slave master. Some call them government. I call them slavers. Because they're still a slave. They're just a slaver. So it's up to us to raise our children, not the slave holders. Another quote by Frederick Douglass: "It is easier to build strong children than to repair broken men." So now we're getting into the slavery freedom bottleneck. As humanity becomes more physically and mentally enslaved, our collective free will and purpose narrow, funneling the collective purpose to a single goal of liberation. Humanity in their soul is getting squeezed, and the more enslaved we become, the more pressure there is for humanity to be free. This is a law. The soul of humanity is being squeezed and funneled, and the pressure is building. Now, what's going to be happening in the future and what's happening right now is that humanity's soul is desiring freedom, but our behaviors are giving us nothing but more chains and tighter chains and tighter chains and tighter chains. And eventually, this urge for freedom is going to start transcending and shooting to the next level. And the chains, the slave masters know this. They know that humanity is wanting more and more freedom. So what the plan is for the next however many years is to give humanity the proxy for freedom, the illusion of freedom. And this is their way to steer the awakening, the apocalypse, or I guess the apocalypse has basically already happened, but this next phase of the world order, as humanity goes from nations into a world stage, the pressure is shooting humanity through this, and humanity is going to attempt, the slavers, if those people even are human at the highest levels, they're attempting to guide this trajectory. They're attempting to steer it away from the true awakening, the second coming of Christ, because they're all about literalizing by the Bible and the archetypes. They want to make Armageddon happen for real. They don't want it to be an allegory for the awakening of humankind. They want it to be a real end time apocalypse, so that way they can start clean slate and they can get ahead on the narrative next time. That's what we're witnessing. That's what's going on. Enough with a little of that conjecture, but humanity's sole purpose is being forced into a point of liberation. No more chia pets. Okay? No more fidget spinners. Humanity's purpose is driving from a point of novelty. There will be novelty, and there's what's called the coincidentia oppositorum, which Terence McKenna talked quite a bit about, which is this pressure building towards a singularity. But what you get is slavery and freedom in the same room together. So humanity's true will, true collective freedom is less towards fidget spinners and things that don't make sense, towards true purpose and true liberation. So this is my message to anyone caring enough to listen, or anyone who's watched this far, is that you have to recognize that we all share the same purpose right now. Your purpose is no different than my purpose. My purpose is no different than the next person's purpose. Our true purpose is to put our energy and what and who we are into freedom, into liberating ourselves, into liberating others, into going through to this next level, guided by natural law, guided by conscience, guided by moral behavior, which is scientifically proven. Morals are scientifically proven. They're not. People need to stop understanding morals as mental phenomena. morals exist scientifically as law. So I could have reworded some of this. This bottlenecking effect shrinks both free will and consciousness, building immense internal pressure that drives humanity's true will away from exploration and toward freedom. In reality, toward freedom is exploration. Do you think humanity has ever been truly free to the next level? Or is the second coming just a big psyop? What I mean by that is the story of the second coming and the narrative of Christ's return the ultimate narrative that they need to spin what's coming? Because if humanity was truly free, it wouldn't need the Bible. And quite frankly, this might offend people. It's just words. And I've said this recently. If Jesus cared so much about your book, why didn't he write one? Why didn't he write the Bible? Jesus didn't write a single word down. So anytime someone, and I'm not against the Bible. I think it's an interesting book. I think there's a lot of wisdom in it. I think there's some cool occult knowledge in that book. But Jesus didn't write it. And you can't prove that Jesus wrote it, and you can't prove that Jesus said anything that was said in the Bible. Not saying that those things aren't good and useful and helpful. What I'm saying is that you have no proof. The burden of proof is on you, the person making the claim that those are Jesus's words. True freedom only requires moral behavior, right behavior, correct behavior, not slavery, not the belief in slavery, the opposite of the belief in slavery. The knowledge of freedom. The opposite of the belief in slavery is the knowledge of freedom, the knowledge of rights. So to truly evolve spiritually and cosmically, humanity must grow its natural abilities while respecting the freedom of all beings. True evolution aligns with divine order and cannot be forced. It must be chosen and pursued consciously. So we can't grow. Anyone who's talking about the golden age, we're not going to have a golden age. We could. But we all have to make the choice. Share this video with others. Share it with others. I nailed what slavery is. It's simple. You can put your finger on it. You can understand it. You can see it now. So we're at a crossroads. The bottleneck. What lies beyond the bottleneck? We don't know. So will humanity embrace true freedom and evolve with nature, or surrender that freedom and descend into a new era of enslavement and suffering? You tell me. So that's about all I have as far as the presentation. Thank you everybody for watching, and thank you for coming along with me on this journey. I really appreciate this, and everyone who's been watching. I think I'm just going to take a peek around the streams, see if anyone's commented. I will answer anyone's questions. If you have a comment, please go to Rumble, Kick, or Twitch and ask those questions there. What do all these people have in common? None of them understand the true solution is ending slavery. The solution is ending slavery. So, if any of these people, these talking heads, this is another step of how to unslave yourself, is stop believing anything any of these people say. If they're not talking about slavery, if they're not talking about mind control and its relation to slavery and the condition of humanity as being enslaved, they're not talking about shit. These people don't talk about shit. They don't say anything worth listening to. Alex Jones, I guess he's put in his work, but all these guys believe that government is great. They believe that slavery is just the true solution. More slavery is the solution. More people in control of technology that believe in slavery is the solution. These are all the slaves that believe in slavery. All of them. They're all slaves that believe in slavery. And they don't know any better. Because guess what? If one, there's two options. They don't know. They don't know the real solution. They don't know about natural law. They don't know about sovereignty. They don't know about rights. Or the option two is they do know and they don't care to teach it. They don't give a shit. Those are the points. One, they don't know shit. And two, they know some shit and they don't care, which means they also don't know shit. These people have retarded worldviews. These people have retarded worldviews. Don't listen to them. I'm not saying you should listen to me. You know what? You should listen to me. Go back and watch my podcasts. Compare all that information to what you've heard from any of these people for the past 6 months. Seriously. Warship, the Holy Warship, is the dopest fucking podcast. And I know it to be true. I know it's sick. I mean, there's a couple other podcasts. What on earth is happening? Right? End Evil podcast with Chris Jansen. Will Keller's podcasts that he does. Will Tell Truth. You know? There's a bunch of people. You want to see real podcasts. Real good podcasts. Go over here. Oh, is it showing up? Go over here to the One Great Work Network if you want to see some real podcasts. These people know what slavery is. These people are talking about slavery. These people understand the solution. Sean McCann, Tyler Bloyer, Vinny Eastwood, Mitch Wasson, Mark Passio, Larkin Rose, Logan Hart. All of these people understand what slavery is. They understand what mind control is, and they're here to help. That's pretty freaking awesome that there's a group of people who want to fight slavery. There's 70 people who want to fight slavery. Wow, who'd have thought? 4 billion people on this planet, and 70-something people are here that want to fight slavery. It's true. It's actually true that those are the people who want to fight slavery. Luke Rudkowski, he claims to be an anarchist. I don't know what he's been up to. He talks about Trump an awful lot to be an anarchist. It's not politically correct to use the term regime change. But if the current Iranian regime is unable to make Iran great again, why wouldn't there be a regime change? Interesting. Stop listening to these people because they don't. You should just stop listening to anyone who is not talking about mind control, slavery, the occult, and the occult's relation to the world events, secret societies. These people just advocate for more chains all the time. All the time. They just think, oh, we need more chains. We need more chains. That's the solution. More chains. More chains. That's the solution. Oh, no. This person says they're going to take away these chains while then putting chains on someone else. That's the solution. Let's remove my chains and put them on someone else. That's all government and politics are. Let's put the chains on them. Let's take them off. Put the chains on them. Some of these people actually believe that in like a monarchy, a monarch, and not meaning the internal self ruling the self. Internal monarchy. They literally believe that we should have a king who's appointed by their God. And some people just get to cruise down in spaceships and, do whatever they want. These people, a lot of them are really delusional. This guy doesn't even believe that rights exist. I mean, it's just sad. None of these people talk about slavery, mind control, the occult, natural law principles. They all have said, I guarantee you all these people in the past 6 months have said principles. They've never put the words natural law before that. Prove me wrong. Find any of these people talking about natural law principles. They wouldn't, because the understanding of natural law principles annihilates the foundation of slavery. It annihilates their worldview. And they're all here pushing their worldview on you. Stop listening to these people. So I had this in, I think, my first episode. This is the old world order. And we're getting switched over to the new world order. This is what's coming. Because we believed all of these people. All of these people are looking out for us. Let's just believe them. Let's believe them. And then there's going to be some big events coming. And we're going to end up with this. These people, those who don't understand the power of these people and how they operate, I get it. It takes a few years of deep contemplative work and research to understand who these people are. These people go back to the discovery of fire. These people go back to the first weapons ever made, the first warfare, the first enslavement. Literally, the discovery of fire, these people would keep to themselves. And this is how the secret society started millions of years ago. Who knows? Maybe these people taught the apes how to make fire. The possibilities when you get into this level of understanding and how deep it goes, these people probably, in their true sense, in their true form, operate in the astral plane. They probably don't lift their physical bodies out of bed when they do their work. And that might sound crazy to most people, but it's not crazy. It's true. These people operate in the invisible plane. That's why they mind control so well, is because the psychic forces of the bugs can't fathom the psychic forces of these first psychopathic priesthoods and these people, these original bloodlines of psychopaths and priest kings. The bugs can't even understand the playing field that these people are on. That's the reason. Because these people they operate physically. But everyone that you see, up to the royalty and the kings and queens and the secret societies and all of these people, they're still the dupes. They're still the slaves, right? These people are slaves, but what are they slaves to? They're slaves to themselves And who knows what entities they converse with, because these people are talking to entities. These people could be the entities as well. Like I said, the possibilities in this regard are very deep. And now they're getting ready to start fresh. They're going to load up their little Noah's Ark because, they're going to inform certain people to build the ark and go underground or go wherever, go hide off planet. And they're going to smush all the bugs, and then they're going to come back in a few years or after Armageddon, their fake Armageddon that they're just staging, and yeah. And so then we're going to be left with the AI surveillance, the big eye in the sky, and then there's just the idiots, the clowns that are way less in intelligence than the masses, but whenever all of us get together, we get pretty stupid. So then there's these people just following orders. Order followers in robotics. That's going to be the the people who really for the people who stand out, the squeaky wheels are going to get this grease. But for the most part, the artificial intelligence is so profound that people just enslave themselves in perpetuity right now. Anyway, this is the New World Order. These are the people who are going to, they're probably all battling for space right now. For space on the top of the pyramid. The top of the pyramid isn't that big, but whoever stays on top, like King of the Hill for towards the Armageddon phase of things, a lot of these get crushed to the wayside. But really, behind all of these is the priest class. Behind the corporations, right? They're controlling the saucer or whatever. I don't know. But I just wanted to give some food for thought. This is just something I like to always get into some conjecture or predictions at the end of the show. This one's just kind of silly that I tossed together. So I was watching Civil War a few months ago, and I thought, golly, this guy looks just like J.D. Vance, right? Just like the shape of the face, the brooding eyes. Is that what brooding? Is that the word? I think it's brooding when you're all dark and gloom or moody or whatever. But he does some faces sometimes that's just like this. And Elon Musk, when he wigged out and crashed out about Trump, he reposted Trump should be impeached and J.D. Vance should replace him. But before that, in February, he said, best VP ever and our future president. Now, if you don't know the connection between Elon Musk, J.D. Vance, and this old group right here, then you're missing a big picture, because I think Musk knows something, and this guy in the movie Civil War, he serves a third term, and then he authorizes some attacks on civilians. But something about the third term, there's a key point in that movie about the president serves the third term, and the Civil War breaks out. But I don't know, maybe, who knows what is coming? Can anyone guess? I think there's gonna be the Palantir reset, the PayPal mafia presidency is what it's gonna be, because Musk and JD Vance and Peter Thiel and all of these guys, what's gonna be happening with all of that? There's something weird going on with how eerily similar what's his name? Rats. I don't remember his name. He looks just like JD Vance. And it's just something weird about it. And the Civil War breaks out, and then this guy, he gets iced in the White House, and the cool New York Times reporters are there to take a picture and get a quote. But yeah, just, just some food for thought, just some question marks. He said, twice. I don't remember when this one was. I think it was before. Best VP ever, and hopefully our future president. Dude, if this guy gets in, I mean, dude, just sus. Something's going on. Something's gonna happen. Okay, I hope nothing happens bad to anyone. I wish that the world would just move on to an enlightened state where we didn't have the need for all of this slave worship. But this is what we have. I don't wish anyone trouble. But do you think something's going to happen to Trump? Does anyone out there think something's going to happen to Trump? Because him being impeached and then, him being impeached and all that, maybe that's what's coming. Who knows? Huh. I wish my Twitter stream wasn't all down. So what's coming? I'm gonna call it. I'm gonna say, like, what if something happens? Oh, like, what if something happens to Trump in this term? And then, okay. So we're just spitballing here. What if something happens to Trump in this term? JD Vance becomes the president for this term. But does that mean that he can't run the next term? Because that might be 3 terms if he gets elected. Of course he's going to get elected, because of course he would get elected again, because he is like the technocracy, right? I mean, he is the technocracy. He's the face of the technocracy, literally. But what's going on? They're getting too good at predicting things, so I'm always sus when I see stuff like this. Anyway, I hope anyone who's tuned in enjoyed the presentation. Looks like I had some people tune in to the Twitter stream, but I don't think that the Twitter stream worked. So I'll get back to it. Thank you, everyone, for watching the presentation today. It was a pleasure to deliver it. I might just give this again next week. Why not? I might just hit it next week. That way I can focus on other work and still have some content. I like this presentation. I think it's very meaningful. I might hone it in. Thank you for everyone tuning in. It's nice to be back. And I will catch you next Sunday, 9:30 in the morning. We're going to do this presentation again. It's been real. Thanks, everyone.